Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. As the wedding approaches, my boyfriend goes to accompany his green tea and scolds me for being petty. He tells me that if I don't want to lose him, then I should postpone the wedding. I dial my opponent's phone number and say, "Today's wedding is missing a groom. At 11 o'clock, Mr. Mike, do you want to get married? Lisa is really sick this time with a high fever. Every time she falls ill, I am by her side, unable to rest easy." Samuel's voice comes through the phone, but it no longer pierces my heart. On my birthday, when Lisa had a minor accident while filming, he left me to rush to take care of her. On our anniversary, when a crazy fan sent her a dead rat and scared her, he left me to go comfort her all night. Even on the night before our wedding, when Lisa claimed to have a fever, he immediately abandoned me and secretly bought a plane ticket to fly and be with her all night. Samuel, I'll ask you one more time. Can you make it back for the 11 o'clock wedding today? Samuel let out a sigh and, sounding helpless, said, "Jasmine, I'm on their set right now, and it would take over 3 hours to get to the airport. I won't make it in time. How about we postpone the wedding for a day?" Postpone the wedding? All our friends and family are either here or on their way to the hotel, and you're telling me to postpone the wedding? On what grounds? Jasmine, is it because you think Samuel is scum? Or is it because Lisa is a green tea? Jasmine, it's not what you think between me and Lisa. Don't be so petty. Am I being petty? I think you and Lisa should just get married on the spot. Why bring calamity upon me for so many years? For 4 years I've watched the two of them act and I'm tired. I sneered, giving him an ultimatum. If you can't make it back today, then we're done. Jasmine, I understand you're jealous and saying things out of anger, but as I've said, I simply can't make it back. If you don't want to lose me, then you'll postpone the wedding. With those words, he angrily hung up the phone. It was as if from start to finish I had been the one at fault. Yes, I was at fault, it was all my own doing. But from now on, never again. I turned around, grabbed a chair next to me, and viciously hurled it towards the large wedding photo hanging on the wall. There was a loud crash in the room. People outside rushed in, shocked to see the smashed photo frames. "Jasmine, what's wrong? What did Samuel say?" My best friend Anna rushed over and grabbed my hand as I prepared to lift the chair again, saying, "Don't hurt yourself. Let me do it for you." The wedding room was in chaos. My mother came to my side, patting my shoulder. "Forget it. It's better not to have this wedding. Later, I'll talk to your father and grandfather." I looked at my mother, a forced smile on my lips but determination in my eyes, and said, "Who said I'm not getting married?" They all looked at me in surprise. I dialed my opponent Mike's phone number. The phone rang several times but no one answered. Just as I was about to hang up, the voice of a man hesitantly came through. "Hello, Jasmine." I held the phone tightly, feeling a bit nervous. But Mike was the only one I could think of or try with. When he found out I was getting married, he jokingly said, "Wouldn't it be great if you married me? We wouldn't have to be opponents anymore, and we could be a strong couple together. Today I might lose love, but I can't lose my dignity. This marriage, I must go through with it." Taking a deep breath, I gathered my courage and replied, "Yes, it's me. Today's wedding is missing a groom. At 11 o'clock, Mr. Mike, do you want to get married?" There was silence on the other end. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, my heart raced, disappointment building up. Just when I thought he wouldn't respond, Mike's voice came through, seeming to smile and mock. "Jasmine, are you kidding?" I swallowed hard. "If you're not willing, then forget it," I said.
"I'm willing."
I was stunned. "You agreed?" "Yes, I agree." He resumed his usual 3 parts real, 3 parts fake, nonchalant attitude and said, "But just so we're clear, I'm not going to be a tool. When I get married, I want a real wife. At the very least, someone who can lie next to me and make me feel flesh and blood warmth. You understand?" I stayed silent for a moment, then said, "Deal." Mike asked, "What do I do now?" "Be at the hotel before noon as my groom, and we need a bridal suite." "All right, leave it to me. I guarantee you'll be pleased." We ended the call. I looked up at the stunned friends and family by my side. "Mike." My mother was the first to ask, "Is it that opponent of yours in business?" "Mike," I nodded. "But how is this possible?" My mom looked worried. "Isn't he your opponent?" Is he going to take advantage of the situation? Will he deceive you? What's wrong with that, Auntie? I think it's great. Mike is handsome, wealthy, and talented. I think he's much better than that unreliable Samuel. Anna came up laughing and gave me a playful push. Looks like you've got good taste this time. I smiled bitterly. Mike and I were just using each other. But it doesn't matter. All I want is for this wedding to continue. I won't let Samuel embarrass me, and I can't let my family be embarrassed because of me. Samuel's parents called me, acting as mediators for Samuel, saying he really couldn't make it back and persuading me to postpone the wedding until the next day. They warned me that if I insisted on not delaying the wedding, then I'd be the one embarrassed in front of everyone, as there would be no groom and his family. The Song family wouldn't show up. I told them the wedding would not be delayed. They thought I was throwing a tantrum, saying things out of spite, and scolded me for being immature and inconsiderate. Samuel's mother even went as far as to say, "Our daughter-in-laws are all very obedient and well-behaved. Jasmine, if you want to marry into our family, then you, with your competitive and strong-willed nature, should learn to be more submissive and change a bit." I hung up the phone directly, too lazy to listen to their nagging. Samuel getting married. They're living in a dream. My parents only have one daughter, and out of love for me, they thought the house Samuel was allocated as a university professor was not spacious enough. So they bought another townhouse in our neighborhood to be our bridal suite. After the wedding, the property would be transferred to both of us. His family accepted willingly. So our bridal suite was only a few houses away from my parents' house. After smashing the photos, I returned home and had the makeup artist start working on my makeup. I began getting ready at 7:30 in the morning, and by 9:30, I was already in my wedding gown. Although there would be no romantic procession, it was logical to leave from home to head to the hotel. I knew that although I had asked Mike to play a supporting role last minute, today's performance would have to be mine alone. However bitter it would be, I had to perform this in all its glory. But what I never expected was that Mike showed up. As we were getting ready to leave, a series of firecrackers went off downstairs, with an atmosphere of celebration in the air. Another one of my bridesmaids rushed into my room smiling. "Jasmine, Mike has arrived. There's a long caravan of cars outside." I went to the window barefoot and looked down. A long line of white cars was neatly parked by the side of the road. My relatives at home had already received the groom and his entourage. "Anna, come help me with my shoes." I walked over and sat back on the bed. I didn't know what Mike was planning, so I quickly got dressed and went downstairs. In the lobby, there was a middle-aged man in a tidy suit with a crew cut and a dignified appearance staring intently with my father. He was Mike's father, and I had crossed paths with him a couple of times in business. It was the first time I had seen Mike's mother. She was beautiful and elegant, her smile overly radiant, and now she was warmly holding my mother's hand saying, "My Mike said Jasmine is beautiful." I said, "Then her mother must be a great beauty too. Seeing you now, it's clear she's got your genes." As soon as this was said, they heard us coming down, and they all looked up. "Jasmine, my daughter-in-law." Awkwardly, I nodded slightly. "Auntie, hello." "You said it wrong. It should be Mom." "Mom, if you're happy, don't get too excited and scare my daughter-in-law." Mike, who was standing on the side, took bold strides toward me. I extended my hand and pulled him over, walking into an empty room on the first floor, closing the door behind us and looking at him questioningly. "Mike, what are you doing?" Mike stared at me, unusually serious. "I'm getting married. Didn't I tell you to go to the hotel? Go ahead. Pick up my new bride and head to the hotel." Mike smiled, reaching out to hold my hand. "What's wrong? Are you angry?" I shrugged off his hand. "Jasmine, I've said it before, I have no problem getting married, but I refuse to be a tool. You want face, don't I?" I headed straight to the hotel. How will the people around me see me? I looked at him, realizing I didn't really have a reason to be angry, and what he said made sense. I turned my head to look at the line of luxurious cars outside the window, feeling a bit amused and mildly annoyed. "In just over 2 hours, how did you manage to do so much?" His deep eyes stared at me for several seconds. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. His laughter mingled with the furrowed brows. "Compared to you, this is nothing difficult." I frowned. "What? Never mind. Jasmine, should we go out now?" He raised his hand and looked at his wristwatch. It's getting a bit late. Should we hurry? My face flushed slightly, but I still nodded. Okay. The custom in our area is that the groom must carry the bride from her family's home to the wedding car. If a man lacks a little strength, he's not worthy of getting married. But before today, I never imagined that the man who gave me a romantic princess hug would be Mike. This guy, in my impression, was extremely sharp-tongued. I don't even know how many times I've died under his sharp words. In university, feelings are often fostered during military training, leading to sweet romances. At that time, I kind of liked our tall and handsome class monitor. Once, when he saw me successfully pretending to be weak and had the monitor help me carry my big water bottle, this guy, Mike, said, "Jasmine, did you break your hand? Isn't this water bottle heavy?" The class monitor considerately said, "We're all tired from military training. Isn't this water bottle heavy? I'll hold it for her." However, Mike snatched the water bottle, opened it, tilted his head back, opened his mouth and chugged the water, then handed me the cup. "Now can you lift it?" It was quite an awkward moment back then. I truly felt like killing him. The class monitor was also awkward, and from then on, we didn't interact. My sweet little romance died right there. Later, I think my enmity with Mike probably started from that moment. Since then, I found 100 things about him annoying, and he also occasionally irritated me. After graduation, I thought we would say goodbye for good. However, this guy is also from the same city as me. Our families are also in rival businesses, so we often compete for business. Sometimes I get so frustrated I want to secretly stuff him into a sack and beat him up, but he has ironically become the person who can help me out of my predicaments. The banquet started at 11 a.m. After the bride and groom went on stage, it caused quite a stir. Isn't this groom wrong? Wasn't the groom supposed to be Samuel? This guy is much taller and more handsome than Samuel. Did Jasmine change grooms at the last minute? I looked at the guests, thinking of taking the microphone from the wedding host's hand to explain, but Mike preempted me and took the microphone. He reached for my hand and looked at the guests below the stage. "Hello everyone. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Mike, Jasmine's husband. Today, I am very thankful that you could come to our wedding and witness. Our love has weathered many storms and finally emerged into the sunshine." I couldn't help but look at him thinking, "You really dare to say that?" However, I still underestimated Mike. Even the host's lines were changed at the last minute. Next, the host told everyone a long story about how we were adversaries in love. If someone didn't know, they might actually believe that it was always him and me, and Samuel was never involved. Originally, Samuel and I had prepared small surprises for each other for the wedding. Now, with the change of groom, all those plans were discarded. Thankfully, Mike managed to turn the originally awkward and tense wedding into a romantic and funny one. We managed to get through this hurdle smoothly. Next was the part where the bride and groom exchange rings. I had prepared for this and planned to use the rings Samuel and I had picked out, but regardless of the fit, Mike still insisted on putting it on his finger. However, when the ring was presented, I froze. This wasn't the ring box from Samuel and me. I looked at Mike in astonishment. "You." He smiled and, prompted by the host, opened the small velvet box to reveal a dazzling large diamond ring. "Wow, such a big diamond ring. Must be at least 10 carats. The guests below were excited. However, as I exchanged and put on the ring, looking at the unusually fitting diamond ring, I felt inexplicably nervous. At that moment, the host jokingly said, "Now let the groom stamp the bride with a seal of love, which is a passionate kiss. Looking forward to it, aren't we?" I was about to remind him to keep it simple, but as I turned to give him my cheek, he lowered his head and firmly pressed his lips against mine. My emotions were already so complex, but the wedding banquet wasn't over yet. Except for some work-related guests, the remaining friends and relatives, whether out of curiosity or wanting to see us salvage the situation and avoid embarrassment, suggested going to see our wedding room. The last-minute stand-in groom, Mike, had already done a great job to this point. Could he have had time to arrange the wedding room as well? I was about to politely decline, but Mike smiled and said, "Welcome everyone, join the wedding caravan." I felt that this guy had gone crazy. On the way, I was worried sick. I knew I was overly competitive and cared too much about my image, but I really didn't want to embarrass myself in public or be ridiculed. "Don't worry." Mike reached out and held my hand. I looked up at him, trying to say something but hesitated. I wanted to blame him for agreeing to those requests, but then I thought, on this matter of substituting as the groom today, objectively speaking, he had done enough and done well. However, when we arrived at the location, I realized I was wrong. When he said, "Don't worry," earlier, it was because he had already arranged everything. The vast mansion was adorned with lights and flowers, a red carpet laid out, and a wedding arch made entirely of red roses, epitomizing wealth and romance. Mike leaned in, close to me, saying, "The decorators just left. From the entrance into the mansion all the way to the wedding room, it's arranged perfectly." The most surprising thing was that there were even wedding photos. Looking at the bride's wedding photo, it was clearly from the pre-wedding shoot I had done with Samuel, and I had no idea how Mike got them. He had actually edited his suit into the photos with me. I looked at Mike in astonishment. "How did you do this?" Mike casually replied, "Money." After a tiring day of the wedding, I took a shower, put on a nightgown, and climbed onto the 3-meter-wide wedding bed without a care in the world. After a while, Mike came out after his shower. I sat up watching him, my gaze heavy. I still couldn't wrap my head around this. Mike, drying his hair with a towel, the slightly wet strands falling over his eyebrows, accentuating the contours of his handsome face, held the towel in his hand, looking at me and slightly smirking. "Samuel gave them to me. Do you believe that?" I was so surprised I sat up straight. "He gave them to you? Why would he give them to you?" Mike pursed his lips, stood by the bed, and gazed at me. "Care to guess?" "No." "Okay then." He walked over. I quickly averted my gaze, feeling a bit dry in the throat, but still managed to say, "I think I want to sleep alone first." "Are you suggesting a separation?" He stood by the bed, raising an eyebrow. I turned to look at him, meeting his gaze. "Can I?" "Maybe because we've been enemies for too long. The saying goes, knowing your enemy wins 100 battles. I realized that to win against him wasn't about being confrontational but knowing when to yield. He stared at me for a moment, clenched the towel in his hand. 3 days. Can you handle that?" "No." He squinted and said, "Let me tell you, don't think you can burn the bridge after crossing the river. Have a little conscience, will you?" With his words, he turned and left. I stared at his retreating figure, for some reason feeling like laughing, as I suddenly felt he wasn't as difficult to deal with as I thought. However, before I could fully enjoy that thought, I saw him head to the bathroom and quickly come out, striding to the large sofa opposite and lying down. "What are you doing?" He looked up. "Sleeping." I widened my eyes. "Didn't I say I want to sleep alone?" He sat up, pointing at me. "Aren't you already asleep by yourself now?" He actually made me chuckle with anger. I sat up and said, "What I meant was I want to sleep alone in this room. You go to the guest room." "Not a chance," he smiled and said. "You're so proud and want face, why can't I have mine?" I was a last-minute stand-in as the groom. If I can't explain this to my family, parents, and even my whole family who believed in me and cooperated throughout, how would I tell them if they find out I went to sleep in the guest room? Just for 3 days. Suddenly, his phone rang. I got up, reaching for the phone on the bedside table. It was a call from Samuel. I hesitated, then didn't pick up. Samuel might immediately guess why. He quickly got up from the sofa and walked towards me. I hesitated but answered the call. As soon as I picked up, Samuel's voice came through with the familiar gentleness that seemed so matter-of-fact, as if all the previous times when he went to accompany other women and came back, there was nothing to apologize to me for. "Jasmine, I'm boarding now. Can you pick me up at the airport in 2 hours?" I chuckled in exasperation while holding my phone. "Samuel, are you out of your mind?" "Jasmine, I apologize for leaving you. I shouldn't have done that. I brought a gift for you." "Samuel," I retorted, "I got married today." On the other end, Samuel chuckled and said, "Sweetheart, stop being mad. Neither I nor my family showed up, so why did you go ahead and get married?" "Yes, neither you nor your family showed up," I sneered. "I managed the wedding all by myself. Even though you couldn't attend, your family didn't bother to try and explain to the guests or handle the situation when I had to postpone the wedding. A simple phone call asking to postpone it was all it took." "But Samuel, there is more than one man in this world." "What do you mean?" Samuel's voice turned serious as he demanded. "Jasmine, what are you implying? At that moment, Mike reached out his hand towards me. After a moment of hesitation, I handed him the phone. Perhaps Mike and I don't have a future together, but one thing is certain. I will not turn back to Samuel. Jasmine, say something, Mike's magnetic voice, tinged with a smile, said as he put the call on speaker. It's late at night. You can find someone else to pick you up, but you have no right to order around my wife. Mike, you're Mike, I exclaimed. Just call me once. I'm not your father. Samuel immediately got agitated. Who is your wife? Idiot. Why are you holding Jasmine's phone? Mike answered. Samuel, my wife is Jasmine, of course. Stop pretending you don't know what's going on. You should know your place. Don't disturb my wife anymore, or the consequences will be on you. Mike hung up the phone, but soon after my phone rang again. Of course it was Samuel. This time I simply added him to my block list. That night, I felt physically and mentally exhausted, yet strangely clear-headed. I thought I would be unable to sleep all night, but before I knew it, I drifted off. When I woke up, the faint light still seeped through the curtains covering the window. I quickly got up, checked my phone, and realized it was already past 9 in the morning. I hurriedly got ready. It was the second day after my wedding, and I had to visit home. As I got up to wash and freshen up, I remembered I had brought only one set of clothing with me yesterday. I sighed as I touched my forehead. Skipping the bath, I decided to freshen up and head out. However, as I stepped out, I noticed a neatly stacked set of clothes on the couch, all in my size. Mike, I couldn't help but smile. This man, was he really this thoughtful? Suddenly, I realized that perhaps over the years, due to our constant jabs at each other, I had only defined Mike as a despicable opponent, focusing solely on his sharp tongue and arrogance. I went to freshen up, change into new clothes, and do my makeup. As I left the room, Mike was downstairs working on his laptop. He stood up as soon as he saw me, walked over, held my hand, and jokingly remarked, "Looking so put together, are you going to work?" "Not quite," I replied, looking at him with hesitation before saying, "Don't you know? Today we were supposed to go home. Besides, my grandfather didn't say anything at the wedding yesterday, but I could sense his unspoken discontent and anger. Going back now will have to explain things." "Oh, I almost forgot." Mike seemed taken aback. "Oh, I almost forgot," but still led me to the dining room for breakfast. Seating me at the table, Mike brought out a prepared breakfast. I took a bite and found it incredibly delicious. "Your chef is really skilled," I remarked. He looked up, gave me a glance, and said, "There's no chef here. You made it." I asked in surprise. He replied nonchalantly. "If you like it, I can make more dishes for you in the future. I can cook many other things too." I always saw him as aloof and arrogant, but to see this domestic side of him was unexpected. Looking at me, he smiled and said, "Jasmine, you can trust me to take care of you in the days to come." I suddenly felt shy and couldn't meet his intense gaze, so I lowered my head to eat my breakfast. After finishing the meal, I thought of clearing the dishes. However, Mike held my hand, saying, "Let me do the dishes. These delicate hands of yours shouldn't be washing things." He took the dishes from me and started cleaning up, albeit not with expert efficiency. As he placed the plates in the dishwasher, I stood watching. It reminded me of a time when I cooked 2 new dishes at Samuel's place. Being inexperienced in the kitchen, the dishes I made were mediocre in taste and presentation. Thankfully, Samuel graciously finished the meal. When I went to wash the dishes, he approached me from behind, embracing me, and sighed, "I'm so lucky to have a beautiful and capable wife like you." Mike, on the other hand, remarked, "Why wash the dishes when you have such pretty hands? Let me do the menial tasks." Feeling flustered, I tried to retreat, but Mike placed a hand on my waist, leaned down, and planted a kiss on my forehead. I pushed him away and hurriedly left the dining room, almost fleeing. Just as Mike and I were about to leave, my mother called. She informed us that Samuel's family members were causing a commotion at home. We rushed back to the house. Entering the premises, I overheard Samuel's mother accusing us of being shameless and getting involved with other men. Mike retorted, "Samuel's family members, that's you." Everyone in the living room turned their gaze towards us. Samuel's mother stood up, her face turning livid. "You two vile people. Shut up." My grandfather slammed the table, looking around the room with authority. Do you think I'm dead? How dare you? Samuel's father, looking grim, said. I didn't expect you two to show. My mother, who usually had a gentle demeanor, couldn't stand it anymore and came forward, grabbed Mike and said, we had an agreement that after Jasmine got married, the villa could be registered under the two of them, but our son-in-law is not Samuel. My mom was a bit confused, forgetting the name of her son-in-law. Mike chuckled. My mom proudly continued, yes, my son-in-law is Mike, not Samuel. Samuel's parents left in bewilderment, with a rusty expression hinting at lingering consequences. As they departed, Mike's phone rang. After ending the call, he said, all right, I'm going out now, and walked away. I followed and saw his assistant waiting with the car parked outside the gate, passing a document folder through the iron gate. Samuel's parents hesitated for a moment, but eventually accepted it and left. I asked Mike about the contents of the folder, but he simply smiled and remained silent. Initially overlooking their shallow behavior due to Samuel's gracious and cultured demeanor as a university professor, I had never imagined this side of his family. Gratefully, I realized I had dodged a bullet by not marrying into their family, and my mother expressed relief and concern. As we rushed back, I assumed Mike and I had no time to prepare gifts to bring back home. My family members, being rational, didn't bring up the topic. However, once we were alone, Mike returned to his car for a brief moment. Upon his return, he held a rectangular box along with two other smaller boxes. What's all this? My mother asked, entering with a fruit platter. Mike went to my grandfather holding the rectangular box and said casually, my parents instructed me to bring this gift for you, Grandpa. With his charming looks and warm smile, he unknowingly earned extra favor with my family. All our family members wondered what gift to give. My grandfather looked coldly at a completely unfamiliar son-in-law, not really knowing him and not having any good feelings towards him. It wasn't a valuable gift. I just heard that my grandfather liked jade, and coincidentally, we had these two old antiques at home that our family was tired of. So, I brought them over to try to please my grandfather. Mike's words were quite straightforward. Upon hearing this, my grandfather became interested. Jade? He asked. Yes, grandfather, please take a look, Mike said as he opened the box. The jade was all green. My grandfather's eyes lit up immediately. He slowly reached out and picked it up, saying, the jade is well-proportioned, crystal clear, and smooth to the touch. Good jade. Mike smiled and said, I am happy to catch the eye of grandfather. But grandfather declined. This is too precious, take it back. Your most valuable items have already entered our Moo family's door. So what is this mere jade worth? Grandfather, if you still approve of me as your son-in-law, please accept this small gift, Mike said, full of smiles and politeness. I almost forgot his sarcastic demeanor. However, this jade really captured my grandfather's heart, and he accepted. In the other two boxes, one contained a fine red robe that my father likes. The other contained a classical and beautiful jade hairpin that my mother, a lover of traditional Han clothing, would like. I really don't know how Mike managed to find out about my family's preferences. Mike and my father enjoyed tea together, discussing eloquently as if they were experts in the tea ceremony. He even played chess with my grandfather, a match that lasted for 2 hours like a meeting of equals. A masterful showdown where he subtly lost at the crucial moment. Even when my mother was watching a drama on the side, he could strike up a conversation. He spoke about the male actor that my mother liked, praising his background and goodness, showing that he also liked this actor very much. By the end of the day, Mike had won over my father, mother, and grandfather. I had never seen a man who was so good at charming elders like Mike. When we were about to leave in the evening, my grandfather specially instructed, Jasmine, Mike is a good boy. You two should live well together in the future. Yes, this marriage is already a regret. Don't make it a laughingstock. You two go get the marriage certificate tomorrow. After being reminded by my mother, turning her head to look at Mike, her face was almost blooming with a smile. Mike, after you register tomorrow, come home for dinner in the evening. I will personally cook for you too. Seeing this, I raised my eyebrows and remarked, Mom listened to you, but I'm the one who gave birth to her. If you don't want to register, you don't have to. I'll think of an excuse to stall my parents for now, Mike said to me on the way. I looked at him, hesitated for a moment, and nodded in agreement. Tired, he glanced at me. I shook my head. Not really. Suddenly, he reached out and lightly rubbed my head. Mike had already pulled back his hand and was focused on driving. I looked at his sharply defined profile, hesitated about something but didn't say it out loud. Doesn't he think this is too familiar? Even though we are married now, we were opponents before. Why am I not saying anything? He asked. How come you're so silent? I finally blurted out. Why did you agree to marry me? Why wouldn't I agree? He chuckled and said. You are tall, beautiful, intelligent, kind, and a perfect match for me. Marrying you means one less strong opponent for me. Being praised suddenly by an opponent left me completely speechless. However, upon careful consideration, was it true? My family's business and yours. I hope they will have no connection in the future, and our assets will remain separate. I'm fine with it, he said without hesitation. I thought at an even level of strength between us, even if there is no intersection in terms of assets, for Mike it was still a reasonable decision, so he agreed readily. But the next day when I returned to work, my assistant came in excitedly saying, Jasmine, we just got news. We won the project that was being bid on before. Really? I was surprised. As far as I know, among the many competitors for the project, there was Mike's company, which had an advantage. My assistant nodded and said, I don't know what got into the competitor's company. They suddenly withdrew from the bidding, so we won it. This assistant was new. I looked at her, unfamiliar. She wasn't even invited to the wedding. She still didn't know that the boss of the competing company was now my husband. They withdrew. I felt complex, not understanding why Mike would give up such a big project. Jasmine, are you not happy? I'm fine. You can go back to work. When I returned home from work, I asked Mike, why did you give us that project? He was cooking at the time and replied calmly, you could handle it and we have other projects to take on. But I didn't believe that reason. If it were before, you would have definitely competed with me until the end, he said, chuckling. Before, you were someone else's girlfriend, but now you are my wife. Why would I compete with my wife? I was left speechless. After he finished speaking, he turned to me and said, it's almost time for soup. Go change your clothes, wash up, and get ready to eat. The conversation suddenly shifted, but I was actually hungry. I remembered the 2 breakfasts and 1 lunch he had cooked for me in these past 2 days and found myself looking forward to it. After removing my makeup and washing my face, changing into fresh clothes, when I came downstairs, Mike had already prepared dinner. Would you like some wine? He asked. I don't eat many carbs in the evening, so I nodded. Sure. There were 4 dishes on the table, all of which I loved. I never expected that our tastes would match so well. I took a piece of meat, and it tasted even better than I had imagined. If you like it, have some more, he said as he watched me. Later that night, while I was following my skincare routine before going to bed, a strange number called me 5 times. The last call was 3 minutes ago. I picked up my phone and turned to the man standing by the window. I had a call. Why didn't you call me? Mike turned to look at me and pointed outside. Out there. I took my phone and walked to the window. There was a car parked outside the villa, and the standing figure was illuminated by the entrance lights. Samuel? How does he know where you live? I asked Mike in surprise. He glanced at me. On the wedding day, with so many people, there are always a couple who don't mind stirring up trouble. Samuel caught wind of it through someone. The phone rang again. I glanced at it and saw it was a text message from the unknown number. Jasmine, I am right outside Mike's house. I know you are looking at me. Come down. I have something to tell you. I stared at the message, taking a step back. Mike stared at me. Do you want to go out? I didn't answer. Then the phone rang again. If you don't come down, I'll wait here. I beg you to come down. I just want to talk to you for the last time. I hesitated for a moment, then turned around. Mike quickly reached out and grabbed my arm. Have you made up your mind? I nodded, saying, for the last time, will you come with me? As you wish, he said. I walked out. As soon as I opened the front door and stepped outside, Samuel rushed over. Jasmine, you finally acknowledge my presence. However, he soon saw Mike standing behind me. His expression changed. Jasmine, I have something to tell you. He can't be here. I smiled and looked at the woman standing at the front of the car. Lisa, if an outsider like you can be here, why can't my husband be present? Husband. Samuel looked incredulously at me. So you two have been having an affair behind my back. Jasmine, you are truly a despicable person. I slapped him hard on the face. The force was strong. Just after the slap, my palm was aching, hot and numb. Samuel was already in a daze, covering his face, staring at me for several seconds. This is the last time, Samuel. Stop pretending. When you were with Lisa, you should have known it would come to this. His eyes widened. You know? Ask her. I raised my chin and gave Lisa, who was silent, a glance. She sent me all those pictures of you two to my email. Samuel stared wide-eyed, turned to Lisa and asked, You promised me you wouldn't let her know. Lisa remained silent but gave a faint, wistful smile. Suddenly I forgave her. She was both despicable and pitiful. Save some face for yourself. From now on we go our separate ways. I turned around to go back, but Samuel's mocking voice came from behind. Mike, you finally dug out my secrets. Feeling proud, aren't you? I paused, turned around and looked at Mike in surprise. What? Mike remained silent, but Samuel laughed heartily, pointed at Mike and said, I should have been wary of you. I should have watched out for you a long time ago. With that, Samuel walked away. Lisa got into the car and slowly followed him, urging him to get in. Their entanglement was no longer my concern. I looked at the man leaning against the door and asked, Who is the wall? Mike's lips curled up in a smile. It's you. Does Mike like me? This is truly unbelievable. And why did Samuel know? Back in the room, I kept asking about this incident, but Mike only answered, In our last year of undergraduate studies as a senior doctoral student in the same department, Samuel found my wallet one time, saw a 1-inch photo of you hidden in it, and guessed that I liked you. In our graduation year, I got together with Samuel. Knowing that he liked me, he sent the photos of our wedding shoot and told him he could put his mind at ease now. After that, Mike ignored me completely, lying on the couch and staring at me, refusing to say a word. It wasn't until I said, But weren't we always opponents? That he furrowed his eyebrows and grunted softly. Who said I wanted to be your opponent? Really? Oh well, I just like you, plain and simple. As the words left his mouth, he dashed to the big sofa, lay down with his eyes closed tightly, completely ignoring me. Curious, I leaned in closer to look at him. I noticed a slight blush creeping up his ears. This sharp-tongued guy, can he actually blush? I was amazed. Mike, are you blushing? I couldn't help but laugh. One of the happiest things in life for me is seeing opponents blush. Mike quickly sat up, grabbed my hand and pulled me down onto the couch, pushing me down. He hovered over me. You're heavy. I pushed him away. Get off me. With his hands supporting himself, partly pressing down on me, his deep and dangerously intense eyes stared at me menacingly, threatening. Laugh again and I'll be sleeping on the bed tonight. I swallowed hard, too scared to even breathe. In the next moment, Mike let go of me. I immediately jumped off the couch, fled back to the bed, and pulled the covers over my head. The atmosphere became awkward for a moment, but I fell asleep in the midst of it. Early the next day, Mike woke up and I woke up too. He walked to the side of the bed, tugged at the covers and said, It's still early, get more rest. I'll call you when breakfast is ready. I snuggled under the covers and dozed off for a while longer. When I woke up, it was 6:50 a.m. I got up, washed up and put on a face mask. At 7:10 a.m., Mike called me to come downstairs where he had already prepared breakfast. After breakfast, Mike said, My mom suggested we go back home tonight to have dinner together. Are you free tonight? I replied, Yes. He smiled. Great. Then I'll drive you to work now, and after work, I'll pick you up to go together. Unfortunately, in the afternoon, while inspecting a construction site with the project manager, Anna, a stone fell from above and hit my head, causing a severe injury. I was rushed to the hospital with a lot of blood loss and diagnosed with a severe concussion, so I had to stay in the hospital. Once we arrived at the hospital and got examined, Mike hurried over. With a calm but worried expression, he finally relaxed after talking to the doctor and proceeded to handle my hospitalization arrangements. I asked Anna, How did he find out I was here? Anna smiled mysteriously. Finally, I found out that my subordinate and good friend had a secret relationship with Mike. Cousin. I widened my eyes. You kept this from me for so many years. Anna awkwardly smiled. I tried to keep my personal and professional life separate and never revealed any company secrets to him. I believe that. But when it comes to my matters, she must have spilled the beans. My family's preferences, favorite dishes, all of it was probably your doing, right? Anna chuckled and said, well, it's family after all. I should help, right?
I pointed here.
Well, finally the case is solved. As per the doctor's advice, I had to stay in the hospital for 3 days for observation. I stayed in a regular double room. My parents and Mike's parents visited me in the evening. Initially, my mom had planned to stay and take care of me in the hospital. Mike's mom promptly said, who's the wife? It's her job to take care of you. Give Mike a chance. That day, Mike immediately packed all the things I needed for changing and living fully prepared. I said, I only hurt my head. I can take care of myself. Mike insisted on staying. I spent 3 days in the hospital, and he was there arranging everything from meals to personal hygiene. Washing my clothes by myself was the only thing I could do. To my surprise, this proud and rough man turned out to be patient, attentive, and meticulous in caring for someone. On the 4th day, after being examined, I was allowed to be discharged. However, urgent matters at the company required Mike's attention. His mother came to the hospital to assist with my discharge. Jasmine, does your head still hurt? How about staying a couple more days? I declined, saying, staying in the hospital isn't as comfortable as being at home. She agreed. As I started to pack my things, Mike interjected, no need, my wife. I can take care of you myself. You can go home, we'll leave together. With that, he picked up my luggage and guided me to the car. Along the way, I occasionally glanced at him, trying to imagine the tears he shed. The thought made me laugh uncontrollably. Unable to bear it, Mike said, Jasmine, if you've taken the wrong medicine, just say so, and we can rush back to the hospital for a stomach wash. I laughed even louder, making my head ache. Are you being so sarcastic to a patient, really? He glared at me and said, is staring at your husband like he's a fool better? When the red light ahead stopped us, he turned to me and said sternly, confess now, today I'll make you a delicious meal. I shrugged. Then what if I don't confess? Mike smirked. I still have to make you a delicious meal. That settles it. I threw up my hands, feeling cocky. That night, as we were about to sleep, Mike hesitated in front of the bed. According to our agreement, he had given me 3 days to sleep alone. Now he felt like he should sleep on the bed. Honestly, if I didn't know he liked me, perhaps I would have tried to stall a bit longer. But how should I put it? A handsome guy, wealthy, powerful, and so caring, having a crush for years. Men like him must be rare in this world, right? Should I give it a try? I climbed onto the bed first and looked at him, asking, will you bump into my head in your sleep? He exclaimed, how could that happen? Then, lifting his hand as if taking an oath, he said, I sleep very still. I won't disturb you. I extended my hand and patted the space beside me. Then sleep. All right. He quickly climbed into bed, lay down beside me, and carefully assured, you sleep without worries, I won't touch your wound. I closed my eyes and hummed softly, that's good. Suddenly, he leaned over and kissed the corner of my mouth. Good night, my wife. I stayed at home for a few more days. During this time, Mike spent most of his time at home with me, except for occasional outings. As my wound wasn't too severe, the stitches were removed after a week and a half. I found the empty circle of hair on my head from the operation unsightly, so I wore a wig to work. Mike forbade me from eating whatever I wanted until my wound fully healed. He patiently cooked all 3 meals for me, and when he was busy, his mother brought food from their home for me. Therefore, everyone at the company already knew that the boss of the rival company and I were married and that I had a great relationship with his mother. Actually, the best person I get along with besides my mom is his mother. Recently, when my mother called me, in 10 sentences, 3 of them were about his mother. As for me, I've almost been spoiled by Mike. I found that ever since I've been with him, I've become lazier and lazier. Even after washing my hair, he is the one who blows it dry for me. One morning while he was cooking, I quietly hugged him from behind and said, Mike, are you trying to spoil me? He lightly snorted, took my hand, kissed it, and said, it's like you wouldn't do these daily chores if I wasn't around, right? But after eating the meals Mike cooked and enjoying his care, from now on, without me, even if you have money, You won't be able to find someone as considerate and caring as me. I am determined to spoil you. Let's see how you'll cope without me. What if you change your mind and leave me? Won't I be miserable? Change your mind? Forget it. After 7 years of unrequited love, I've longed for you. And now that I've won you over, will I easily let go? He turned around, kissed me on the cheek and said, "Don't dream of leaving, Jasmine, you can't escape. Is that so? Then I'll bet once. Let's bet on an ending." Mike and I never got our marriage certificate. I don't know how he managed to convince my family. They never pressured us. He said he was waiting for me when the day comes that I truly decide and am willing to spend my life with him, then we will get our certificate. For months after our wedding, I became pregnant. On the day of the prenatal examination, I looked up at the winter sun reflecting brightly, warm and melting the snow, and said to the man holding my hand, "Mike, let's get our marriage certificate." I knew he had been carrying our documents in the car all along. He had been waiting for this day. "Really?" he asked excitedly. I thought he would at least ask if it was because of the baby we decided to get the certificate now. But until we obtained the certificate, he hugged me, then let go, kissed me, and happily embraced me again, saying, "Thank you, Queen, for bestowing me with this title. Thank you, Jasmine. Mike truly loves you. I'll love you more and more in the future." Before we even got home in the car, he started taking pictures of the marriage certificate along with the prenatal examination report, posted it on Instagram with the caption, "I, Mike, finally legitimized as a father. Officially turned over a new leaf." He then shared it in the family chat group to show off. Then I posted a picture of our marriage certificate with the caption, "For the rest of our lives, deeply committed to each other." That girl is very beautiful, but what attracted me was her smile. Like the moon immersed in water, pure and radiant. I liked her at first sight. However, this is the first time I've liked someone, and I don't know how to express it. I could only try to. I wanted to make myself noticeable in front of her, but obviously I overdid it. She thought I was deliberately picking on her, even thinking I hated her and was targeting her. But I didn't. I liked her. I liked her so much that on quiet nights, when my roommates were out playing lying on my bed in the dormitory, just thinking about her made me feel great. I really liked her. But whenever she talked about Mike, that annoying guy in front of others, she really hated me. So the things I did for her, I never mentioned because I was afraid she would hate me even more. After all, when someone you dislike does something for you, you definitely wouldn't be happy. I didn't know what to do. I only knew that I wanted to continue liking her. And I couldn't help but like her more and more. I was poisoned, intoxicated by the love potion labeled Jasmine. The year we graduated, her dissertation was lost due to a computer virus. I recovered her computer system and found the dissertation for her. This time I went to provide the service in person, and she couldn't possibly not know. She glanced at me, then another, and finally awkwardly said, "Mike, thanks to you this time, thank you." I coldly replied, "You're welcome." But only I knew how overjoyed I felt when she glanced at me. The first time she called my name, I realized how pleasant my name sounded. But I still felt Jasmine was the most beautiful name. So beautiful that I couldn't forget it, and it was engraved in my heart.